Rainmaker Call, we have Angel Tuccy. Angel is an award-winning speaker, radio host, TV producer, and PR media specialist, and author of 15 best-selling books. She is known for her exceptional expertise in helping her clients with media exposure, and Angel has a track record of personally booking thousands of media interviews for her clients. She also spearheads the online podcast network Need a Guest. So everybody welcome Angel.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Angelique, and thank you so much to Power Team for putting together this incredible Rainmaker Call that everybody has access to every single week. I know you guys all tune in for brand new coaching, brand new speakers, brand new expertise every single week, and I am super excited to be delivering that. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Angel Tuccy. I help authors, experts, and entrepreneurs turn their message into media using the power of publishing and podcast interviews to grow your visibility, attract more leads, and to sell more books. If you've been to any of the Rainmaker events this last year or UWC, hopefully we have met in person. I started as a Rainmaker in 2017. It's been an amazing addition to growing my business. It has just completely opened up so many new doors. I've been traveling as a speaker since 2018, and I just owe so much gratitude to Bill Walsh and the entire Power Team. That's the word, right? Well, if you've ever felt like your book is the best kept secret, or your brand is the best kept secret, or your product, your service, I think so many of us do. We feel like we're constantly chasing visibility and seeking new exposure. We've got all this great content to share. We deliver amazing products and services for our clients, but how do we create more exposure? Well, if you've ever felt like you are the world's best kept secret, then I hope that this call is going to flip the script for you. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to share, I created a simple 3-part framework just for today's call. This is exclusive just for you guys here today, called Publish, Pitch, and Profit, right? We always love our little alliteration. So 3 words that go together: publish, pitch, and profit, to show you how to use podcast interviews as your number one marketing strategy, even if you don't have a media team, you've never been in the media, you're just starting out. And if you have been on stages and you have been using podcast interviews and speaking, then how to consistently create that visibility every single week. So that seems to be the number one struggle for entrepreneurs is we've just got so many different things, so many things we're chasing, so many different ideas. What is our number one strategy? What should we really be focusing on? And I really love like the power of one product, one audience, one marketing platform for 1 year. We can get you to just really stay focused in and choose one marketing platform and put all of your eggs, right? I know we want to diversify, but so often it's the diversification that's really diluting our results. And so if we can just really become the master and master the stage and master that podcast and opportunity and be the exceptional guest in the space, you'll become the branded as the most sought after podcast guest. That's what we're looking for, right? But here's how we can either, if you're an author and you have never published a book, or you have thought about publishing a book, I have an incredible 90-day author program where we help our clients get booked on or publish their book in 90 days and then leverage podcast interviews to do a 90-day virtual book tour for the first 90 days to sell more books, create more impact, and to really just rocket launch you as an author in the space. And the reason why we start with publishing is because your book is really your best marketing tool. And people want to come to you, they're picking your brain, they're asking you lots of questions, it's the easiest low-ticket offer into what I like to call your sales castle. And here's the thing, your book, it isn't just a book, right? It's an authority anchor. It establishes you as the expert in the space. So when we do introduce you on stage or on a podcast, not only do we have the expert here today, but they wrote the book on it. And that's you, right? You want to be established as the expert, the authority in the space. And the number one way to get invited onto more stages, to be invited as a guest without having to pay for advertising, is to be a published author. It's also the only item that you can sell from stage even if it's not a sell from stage. If you guys are familiar with what Bill did at one of the Trump conventions earlier last year, I think it was earlier last year, he had 5 minutes on stage in front of, I think, a crowd of 18,000 people. And what was the one thing that Bill opted? I mean, here's the master at lead capture. Here's the master at establishing himself as an authority. He's the master at selling from stage. He knew he couldn't sell from this stage. So what was the one thing he opted to give away to capture more leads and to establish himself as the authority in the space? His upcoming book. So make sure that even if the book isn't published yet, you can still use it as a lead magnet, right? It's going to generate leads, get you more opt-ins. You guys have Mobex Pro, you have capture pages and squeeze pages and opt-in pages, lead magnets. What's the number one thing to use as a lead magnet? Get them in to buy your book. I interviewed somebody today, and he's talking about all this incredible stuff on restoring hope and health. And he talked about how he shares all of these tips in his book. Well, what do you think the audience is going to run out and want to do immediately? They're going to want to go grab the book. And even with him, he doesn't even have to say, go buy my book. He just has to say, it's in my book. I share all these great tips and secrets. And the audience just runs to the back of the room. They run over to Amazon, right? They Google his name. They look him up. How can I make that happen? How can I get that book immediately? So make sure, like, if you are going to publish your book, right, and this is what we teach our clients in our 90-day author program, make sure that it is solution-driven, right, that it's the result. So what's the bold promise that somebody's going to get? In my book, Amplify Your Reach, how to use podcast interviews as your number one traffic source for growing your business. Like, so what's your bold promise? Make sure that it's solution-driven. You have a bold promise, bold results. It's more than a business card, right? It's not an oversized business card. I think it's so funny when I hear people say that, right, that there's no money in books and it's an oversized business card. Well, they're just not marketing it right, and they don't have a good strategy, because not only one is it a revenue generator, but it does open up doors. It does create impact. It does generate leads. It's the thing, right? You're like, what can I give away? What's the one thing that I can use to get everybody in my email list, into my funnel, to follow me, to take action? Publish the book, right? People want to pick your brain all the time. What if you could pick my brain for an hour for $20? Would that be worthwhile? I wrote the book on it. It's 100 pages, right? It'll take you about an hour to read. $20. Everything I know on the topic, right? Ask me anything. It's in the book. But make sure that when you do publish your book, right, that you're thinking like a marketer, right? Thinking like a marketer with your title, your subtitle, your back cover, right? Throughout the call or throughout the book, it should all be encouraging people to lead back to want to connect with you, to your email list, and add them to your email list. All right, so don't just write the book, you're writing a roadmap to your business. Number 2, we want to pitch to podcasts. Podcasts are the number one tool for growing your business, and I tested this for 2 years. Prior to starting my podcast agency, I canceled all speaking I stopped all other marketing and focused only on podcast interviews, being a guest on other people's podcasts. Do you want to know how I got booked on 100 podcasts in a year? It's 2 per week. 2 interviews a week is 100 podcasts over the year. And after 2 years, I grew my Facebook community, my lead gen tool. I grew it from 10,000 people to 40,000 people just by being a podcast guest for 2 years. It can be the number one way, right? If you've got Mobex Pro, you've got a text opt-in, I can go on an interview and say, text the word famous, FAMOUS, text the word famous for the number 26786. Right? Make sure when you do a call to action, you slow down, text the word famous to 26786. Right? And you'll get access to over a dozen podcast hosts who are looking for guests right now. But podcasts are kind of the modern book tour, right? You don't even have to leave your house. You don't have to show up and go anywhere, right? You actually can do a book tour, virtual tour, just by being a podcast guest without ever leaving your house. But think of this. These are rich, evergreen, niche markets full of targeted listeners who trust the host. And who do people do business with? People they know, like, and trust. right? And so that trust of that host and that show and that network and that platform, you are the invited guest, you're the celebrity, you're the expert who wrote the book on it. That trust transfers automatically over to you. It's incredible. So just being the guest, you have this incredible amount of trust that is instantly created. But then also because you are the author who wrote the book on it, it's a slam dunk. Right? It's kind of that 1-2 punch, right? Not only are you the guest, but you're the author who wrote the book on it, and it's full of targeted listeners they come for the topic, right? Your bold promise of the title of your book, the bold promise of your podcast title, but they stay for you because they trust you, they like your voice, they like your cadence, they can relate to you, they like what you've done, they love your story of how you overcame. And I mean, a lot of times when I'm on stage and I tell people, I almost didn't graduate from high school because I was so afraid of public speaking. My mouth dried up, butterflies in my stomach. I couldn't stand in front of the room and describe how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. My mouth was so dry. My voice was so meek. I was so nervous. I was so scared. And yet, a year after that first year after graduating Platinum Speaker Camp with Bill Walsh, I spoke on over 100 stages. Like, how does a girl who barely graduated high school because she was so afraid of public speaking travel the world and speak on 100 stages in a year? Well, it's practice, right? It's just practice. 100 stages are practice. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it and the easier it's going to be. Think about this. The right podcast interview can drive traffic back to you for years with just one great conversation. The compound effect of being interviewed on a podcast. When I was in radio, for 10 years, I interviewed guests on the radio. I interviewed over 5,000 guests in my 10-year career. And the thing is, if you were on radio, doing a radio interview, for the audience to hear that interview, they had to be in the car at the time of that interview with my station dialed in, right, actively listening to the radio at the time of that particular interview. And if you happen to get out of the car 5 minutes early or get in the car 5 minutes later, you completely missed it. With podcasts, they're evergreen, they're recorded. Somebody can listen to it next week, next month, next year. Right? One great conversation. In fact, we had a client recently, she told me she was on a podcast. That podcast was then uploaded to YouTube. There was 3,000 views of that podcast interview in 2 weeks. It had a pretty good audience, 3,000 views in 2 weeks. She moved them to a workshop where she enrolled 19 clients from one podcast interview. That's the power. That is the power. So make sure that when you are getting booked on podcasts that you got a great headline, because the headline, right, the title of your podcast talk is the title of that headline episode. Make sure you tailor your message to every podcast and align your story to their audience. But a book builds your authority, and a podcast puts you in front of the right people. And here's what I have to say. I mean, like, you want to share your story with everyone, but speak to your someone. And that's what happens when you're a guest on podcasts. It puts it in front of the right people. And the third tip today is profit, right? So we talked about publish, then we talked about pitch to podcast, and now we're talking about profiting beyond the microphone, profiting beyond the interview. We want to turn your interviews into leads and sales, right? We're not just in here having fun, wasting time, it's not wasting. I do tell people being a podcast guest can be a complete waste of time if you don't have a strategy. And that's why most people come to me, is because they've been getting booked on podcasts. I have a book that's been published, but I'm not selling books. I'm not creating leads. I'm not creating sales. Like, nothing seems to be working. And so you need a strategy, right? Don't just show up and chat. Show up with a strategy. What did I show up here with today? A title, a 3-step framework, a call to action to get you into my castle. I'm the expert who wrote the book on it. You now know you can go online and get my book. You now know you can text the word famous to 26786 and get access to my community. Right? I came with a strategy. So make sure that you're seeding your call to action naturally during your interview. In the introduction, tell people, right? I've got this incredible story, and this is why I wrote the book. This, and this is how you can get it. Like, seed it naturally throughout the interview. Make sure that you offer a compelling free resource. Free means something for you, something for me. I get your contact information, you get my free gift. Make sure that you offer something that people will climb over seats and clamor to get. You guys have been to sports stadiums where they're shooting T-shirts out of a rocket cannon, and people are climbing over seats and climbing over children for a T-shirt they will never wear that doesn't even fit them. What do you give away that gets people to want to climb over their seats to get? And if you just tell them you can have my newsletter, I don't think people are climbing out of their seats to climb, because they just feel like I just don't have enough newsletters in my life. So you can get my free ebook. Well, what's in the book? What's the result? What's the bold promise? What are they going to get? Always talk about the results. When you go and text the word famous to 26786, you're going to get access to my podcast community where I have a dozen podcast hosts who are looking for guests right now, today. You could get booked on a podcast today. And then make sure you have a good follow-up system, right? How often are you texting? How often are you emailing? How often are you following up with those leads? Because you're not selling on a podcast. The only thing you are quote unquote selling is your freebie, maybe your book, right? But you're not selling your product, your programs, or your services. Those are sold in a different place, right? They're sold via email. They're sold via webinars. They're sold via workshops. They're sold via sales calls. So what is the method that you actually make a sale? What does the sales cycle look like? Does the customer journey look like? When somebody meets you, what happens next? What happens after that? And at what point does the transaction take place? You need to make sure that you've got your customer journey lined up and that you're moving them further along that customer journey and inviting them, right? Get them into your email list, nurture them through your community, invite them to book signing events, invite them to join you at events like UWC coming up in Chicago at the end of this month. Never go anywhere with your passenger seat empty. If it's valuable enough for you to go to, bring somebody, invite your clients, invite your leads, invite your prospects. What a great opportunity you have to extend that relationship and to add value into somebody else's life. If it's going to be good for you, it's going to be good for them. Invite your prospects to join you at UWC. I will be at UWC at the end of June in Chicago, and Bill gives us this incredible opportunity that 4 times a year, using invitation marketing to add value to our leads. He just gives that to us, and it's just part of your Rainmaker package. And then make sure that you reuse and repurpose and recycle, right? Turn every interview into testimonials. Use it as social media clips. Use it as content on your social site. Use it as value adds in your emails. Don't waste it. I think one of the biggest complaints that podcasters tell me is that their guests don't even promote that they were on their show, right? How sad is that, right? Don't leave any of this up to the podcaster. You take charge and control over your own exposure and your own visibility. They gave you the vehicle. You've got to be the one that uses it. The magic isn't just in getting booked. It's in what you do after the interview that really, that dials it in and brings it home. So if you wrote the book, right, you already have everything you need to be a sought after guest. You do. Go out, position yourself as the expert who wrote the book on it. Go into my Facebook community, meet a guest, and start getting booked on podcasts. If you have not yet published your book, reach out to me through the Rainmaker alumni page on Facebook and join our 90-day author program. You want to get your book published in 90 days? This is a one-stop shop. We've created the most exciting group coaching program to step-by-step in 12 weeks take you from idea to publish. If you've thought about writing a book, people have told you you've got a book inside of you, you know you have a book inside of you, you've been putting it off, you're ready to just get her done, we are the finishers. You want to get that finished? You come to 90-day author program. We get things finished. But use your story, your expertise, and your voice to amplify your message and watch your book turn into a business lead magnet, a way to grow your business. Again, text the word famous to 26786 if you want to gain access to my Facebook community, getting booked on podcasts. You can send me questions in the Facebook page, the Rainmaker Alumni Facebook group. ask me questions about publishing, about being a guest on podcasts, about our 90-day author program. If you've got ideas for your books and you just want to noodle that out because you have too many ideas and you want help with getting focused on one. Any questions about any media, borrowing other people's audiences, speaking on other people's stages. I've been through every Power Team program. I am a 7-figure club member. I've gone through Power Team Platinum Speaker program. I'm a Rainmaker. I was part of the Founder program. So I've been around for a hot minute. Happy to answer any questions. Just want to encourage you all and tell you that the world needs your story. Like, there is so much opportunity. If you want to impact hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, now is your time. Bill says, when's a good day to start? When's a good time to start? How about right now? My name's Angel Tuccy. They call me the media matchmaker. I am the book angel. Super honored and excited to share with you today on this Rainmaker call. Make sure you've got your tickets to UWC at the end of this month in just a couple of weeks. Make sure you reach out to Cheryl, sign up on Eventbrite, and make sure you've got your tickets and that you are planning moving mountains to be with us at the end of June. So super excited. Thanks so much for having me here today.